All right, so welcome back to Moon's Remorse. This is the second of the 4 prologue sessions. This one will be introducing Steve V's character, Isaac Woods, who is from the nation of Osiria. Osiria, for the last 25 years, has been locked in a relentless civil war, mainly fought by two of the three triumvirs of that nation, Ludos and Liberus. Isaac has maintained a distance away from that civil war because he is from Munio, which is the third of the triumvirs that has remained neutral between the two. There he learned much about his God and faith, but during an ordeal, which is a holy test, to attain the right to swear an oath to his God, he failed it and was sent away to the nation of Parnak to train with other priests and servants of the god Tavius. He has made his way north from Rostagar, the city of Rostagar, into the lands of Parnak, specifically the kingdom of Stormloft, and to the city of Draens. There he has been told to meet with Endovan Stall, a member of the Inquisition of Osiria, who is based in the Great Church of the Fold. As you approach, Steve, this being your first entry into the city, on its south side, you would see. You don't really have to ask many people which way to go. In this district, all of the buildings have red bricked tiles on their roofs, but there's one large building that stands above the rest. It appears to be made of white, off-white stone. There are two tabards, two large banners that hang near a very large door. The banners have a satyr emblazoned over a black shield, and you see the familiar symbol of the god Averiu emblazoned over the door. It looks like a great church and basically fits the description of what you've been told the church you're looking for looks like.
All right. I'll enter in through the archway and hopefully be able to find someone who can point me in the direction of Endovan.
Okay. And you enter in. A young scribe, a pair of scribes comes walking past you. You ask them curtly, where Endovan's located, and they tell you to go to the Temple of Averiu. Inside, what you see is that there's basically a large open area in the middle. It looks like there's some folks that are out and about on the grass, and they seem to be kind of in the midst of some worship. But on the interior wall of this open air, you see that there are symbols of all of the different gods that you can kind of reflect, having passed by churches of in this area. And you see the Atavian cross standing over one of these doorways. Make your way there. And let's see. On the interior, it's very Spartan. Not much in the way of grandiosity. There isn't much to make it look, there's no efforts of beautification. You have pretty much just a desk, and at the desk is an older looking gentleman, white beard, white hair, which looks like it's been kind of cut neatly on his head, and he wears a suit of half-plate, and the symbol of Tavius is emblazoned upon it. Set on his desk is a decently thick-sized longsword, which looks like it also bears the mark of Atavius as well.
All right, I'll approach and kind of take a bounce in my lord stall. I am Isaac Woods of the monastery in what was this small
he looks to you and he pulls out a piece of paper off of a stack as you're kind of trying to introduce yourself, and he says, Of the parish of Ariamen's Light and Munio. Yes, we expected you. You are early. You weren't expected until tomorrow, but I guess that makes for better efforts on our part. It would be unfortunate for you if you were to be forced to leave out into the wilds the second you arrived. He kind of scratches his beard a bit around his mouth, and he seems to be taking stock of you. He kind of stands up while he's doing this, and this gives you a bit of a better view on him. And you would see that. I mean, he looks, wizened. His beard is strangely, like his mustache rather, is kind of shorter on one side than the other, which is a bit strange. But it seems to cover, even still, kind of cover up his lips. When he speaks, it seems that he's kind of doing so with like a slant favoring the side with more hair. Make a perception check.
All right. That's a 10.
Okay. You're not sure what is going on there with his lip, but it's something weird, something strange. You're not sure. Um, he after kind of taking stock of you, he picks up his sword and kind of fastens it to his belt, and he says, "Do you want a tour of the place? Do you want to get right to business?"
Um, would it, during my time spent here, would it be appropriate for me to take residence within the uh, the church?
Of course, you will
Um,
have rooms made ready for you in the cloister.
and in that case, lead on. I best get my bearings if I'm going to be spending some time here.
Okay. He shows you around the area, the interior of this basically hole in the wall temple, and you realize that there's um, basically two halves um, that are accessible from that main front room that you entered in. The first half is a very open chamber. This one a bit more adorned than the entryway. At the far end of the room, you see a large Atavian cross that appears to be made out of bronze and kind of adorned with different gemstones, primarily garnets. And you would see that this seems to be where like worship on the day of Dan, the end of the weekday, um, this is where that's where that would take place. He shows you that, and he says, "This is the grand hall, and where we have our congregations. Um, Typically, I will perform services, though not many in this city will attend." Um, he kind of shakes his head a bit and then looks to you and he says, "Most of the folks here worship Averio, the saint. So he wanders along, and as he's doing so, he kind of turns back to you and he says, "How are things in Munio? Has the war spilled into into those lands yet?"
We have been lucky, my lord. The war has not found us yet, and our people still live in relative peace, though it creeps ever forward.
If it is true what I hear in rumors that the Ludocians have joined forces with the um, wizards and sorcerers of the islands and countries of Darg to the north, then we have seen a corruption that was foretold long ago, and unfortunately the Ludocian king must be brought to justice. He kind of huffs and leads you to the next half of the chamber. This half of the chamber is a single hallway with a total of 10 doors on either side of the hallway. This appears to be where he was speaking of the inner cloister. The front two doorways, the doors are removed, and you can see inside there's just small study rooms. The next four on either side appear to be residences that can be taken up. And he leads you to the first one on the right. Um, you can see that there's a name placard in Osirian on the left one that says "End of Install." That appears to be where he resides. And he says, "This can be your residence."
Very good. It will suit my needs well. I don't need much room, just a place to lay my head.
Very good. In short order, I will have some business with the town guard, but after that, we can perhaps have supper together. Give you some time to um, get your bearings. If you wish to travel about the town, around the city, or around the temple itself, I'll give you that freedom. He nods his head and kind of turns to walk away.
Sounds good. I will just, tr- just try to get my bearings a bit more and wait for your return.
Okay. Do you, after he leaves, do you intend to just kind of set your bag and stuff down and wander a little, or are you just going to wait for him resolutely?
No, I'm curious kind of about this church of many gods. So yeah, I'll set my bag in my room, but then I kind of want to wander out into the open proper and just kind of meander.
Sounds good. So you would come out into the Church of the Fold, and you would see there are quite a few symbols besides the one that you kind of stand next to. You recognize that the primary one on the northern wall of the circuit that seems to be kind of up above the bowl of this ring of stone is a Varia, which is the cross set within a diamond. Um, the other ones that are present, though, let's see, you have, um, it looks like a symbol that has six symbols set to it. You recognize it as the symbol of the Dwarison, knowing that the individual symbols within it are the individual gods of that pantheon. The Dwarison is the dwarven pantheon. The primary symbol in it is the symbol of the god Beldendar, the father of dwarves. Um, you would see that to the left of and that's kind of to your right, to the left of the largest symbol is a symbol of the fair gods, which is four women kind of um, come together, each one with a different kind of color to it. One appears to be made to kind of represent jadish color. One's kind of a deeper purple in color, bluish color, and then yellowish in color. Uh, let's see. What the heck's happening? Okay, let's see. Sorry, here, hold on. And a couple of the ones on the far side. So far, have you seen any that you're interested in investigating?
I think just because of what I've heard and just even Andovin's react to it, the way he kind of talked about the Saint of Vario, I think that's probably the one I would kind of almost be interested in taking a look at.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I know of a Vario, but yeah, it still also perplexes me why men would choose to worship of just a man and not a true god.
Sure. As you kind of approach there, a lot of people are kind of exiting and entering the place. This seems to have a bit more foot traffic than the Atavian church. And when you kind of enter into the door beyond, it's a wide open hall that seems to kind of be as large as the entirety of the Atavian church that you were just in. You see that there's several people, like, at pews praying, and at the very far end, you see that there's several what you would presume are priests, kind of going over rites at the head of the church. Um, it seems that they're in some sort of service at current, and they seem to be kind of chanting in Elvish words, just mantras, and um, rites for this faith. What you kind of hear most often is kind of rights towards courage and rights towards like bravery, and having the strength to persevere, which you know sounds all well and good, but none of it has to really do with law or order or kind of like a balance. And this whole service seems to be kind of a mess of people doing pretty much whatever they want.
Yeah, I kind of sit at one of like the far back pews and just kind of eavesdrop on the sermon, listen in, just kind of think,
Okay.
take it in.
What you quickly realize is that there isn't really much of a sermon going on. It's a couple of different like entities doing pretty much what they want. You have like groups in the pews that are kind of just praying, and some of them are praying loudly or singing like hymns. And then at the head of the church, there's people who are in robes and such that are performing some sort of rites, but it doesn't sound like they're all doing the same ones. Some of them seem to be kind of congregated, others seem to be kind of doing as they please. And you see some people will come in, do some sort of prayer, leave an offering in a bowl, and then exit out. So it seems like this is just like a hodgepodge, not so much a service. Kind of just people coming and being able to pray. The best equivalent I can kind of give you is at like a Buddhist temple, people come and they do as they please, like in their own like faith and believing. That would be the kind of equivalency here. And then you have like a Catholic, you would have a Catholic mentality. You're supposed to come in and have mass and services. This is not happening here.
Yeah. Hmm. Pretty. Seems kind of unorganized. Don't know if I'm feeling it.
Bunch of damn hippies. They
Yeah.
one of the page boys kind of walks over to you and nods his head and says like a greeting in Elvish. It's pretty much just a generic greeting that means blessings upon you. And then in common tongue, he says, "How can I help you, my lord?"
Oh, just enjoying the atmosphere. I'm new in this city, and I've never been in a church of Averiu. Always been curious on why so many worship this man. Thought I would come and learn.
Well, some of us believe that in his act of defeating Ashmedea and lancing her heart out, that he ascended to stand next to the daughters of Varhuin. Some elvish traditions don't believe likewise, but we are of a mind to believe that there is hope for anyone, that those with the great birthright and who perform great deeds in their lives can ascend beyond their mortal station.
Uh, a wild belief, but I can respect it. Though, are we all not just men?
I concur. I do have hope that someday I will be able to enter into the graces of the Court of Stars and the Court of the Four Fair Ladies, but I do not see myself rising up to become like Averio.
Kind of stand up and I put like a hand on his shoulder and just kind of smile at him. Just be like, I wish you luck in your endeavors. Young one, it's a noble aspiration. Just do good deeds, do justice, bring good to the world. Try not to sin too much, and I'm sure you will meet your fair god.
He nods his head, and you see an older-looking gentleman kind of approaching you, and he says, "A priest of Atavius, coming to take in. Are you looking for the refreshments stand?" He gestures towards a place where they seem to be serving like breads and wines, and he kind of gives you a grin. This man looks a bit more wizened than the page boy. The page boy kind of slips away as this guy engages you.
No, just here to learn, my lord. I've never been in a temple of Averiu,
I
but I
assume
would.
you're a friend of Endovin's stalls, just by your stuffiness, and he grins.
Yes, my lord Stahl is to be my patron while I'm in this fair city.
He he kind of stops you for a second. He says, "Patron, you have not completed your ordeals, so it's not too late. You can of course change your path." And he kind of gestures towards the back wall. "You could of course join us." He grins. We worship much more ancient powers than your new god."
My ordeals may not be complete, but my faith in my lord Atavius is just,
Please do
and I
not
will not waver from my path.
please do not take insult, loyal priest. I apologize. I understand that the will and the order of an Atavian priest is unshakable. I only meant this in jest. I did not seriously conclude that you would be interested in our faith. And he kind of says, I am Eric. Eric Yondelson. And you are?
Isaac. They called me Isaac Woods, though I don't really have a surname. Woods is more of a nickname from my friends in the temple. I see my father was a lumberjack, so you see a bit of a play on words.
I understand. Uh, it would seem, though, that if you are taking on, or if you are being taken on um, as a patrony of Endovan, that must mean that you are a member of one of the orders of Syria, if you were to come this far out, if they were to pay your way. Are you, you aren't an inquisitor, are you?
No, I am of the Comos Palatinus.
We could
Here
use
too.
we could use more heroes and less questioners. So I gratefully accept your presence here, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that your stay in the Great Church of the Fold is the best experience you've had in your life. If you wish to peruse our libraries, if you wish to um, have conference with any of our priests, simply ask.
Thank you. Though Octavius may be my lord, I am Ledoux. I'll keep an open mind to learning of the different deities in this world, and I will take you up on your offer to peruse the library. Knowledge is just as strong a weapon as the sword, or so I've been taught.
Very good. You've been taught correctly. You've been taught wisely. He smiles and kind of turns towards the front again. He says, "I am due for some rites. Again, if you ask for me by name, anyone here should be able to bring you to my attention or um, let you know where I have gone if I have left." And he starts to walk away from you.
Cool.
All right.
All right, I'll head back to the Atavian cloister.
Okay.
Just kind of wait for Endovan for us the afternoon.
You see, as you kind of pass by, the church that's right next to your church is the one for the dwarves, the dwarves, and you see a couple of dwarves just kind of sitting out idly outside of it with strange mugs in their hand, and they're drinking a foamy drink as they kind of watch you pass by, giving you nods. Roll a religion check for me.
12.
You remember being told that the dwarves of Tessa and dwarves even outside of that, their churches are a strange establishment in that they're typically also a bar. They have tap rooms in their temples.
When did Endovan said he wouldn't be back till like late afternoon, like sup?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll probably have some time. I'll since I'm learning about different gods, I guess I can take a stop in there.
One of the dwarves.
A drink isn't a sin, so why not?
One of the dwarves looks over to you and says, "Hey, young boy, you a friend of Endovan's?"
Friend? Yes, I suppose I am, my lord dwarf.
I can tell by the weird cross on your chest. Come on in with me. And he kind of like starts heading towards the door. You see there's a dwarf standing just inside the door frame. And as the dwarf approaches, he kind of steps aside. And in Dwarvish, which I don't think you understand, he says something to the dwarf. The dwarf nods his head and then kind of looks at you. And you seem to be a loud passage. You walk in, there's kind of a rowdy scene, like a bowdy kind of scene inside with folks yelling out in Dwarvish. Sounds like songs, but it sounds like songs sung by people who aren't terribly good at singing. And he leads you on up to the front, where you see a dwarf in resplendent priestly robes behind the bar, handing out these large, strange mugs to the dwarves that come up to meet him. One such dwarf is the dwarf that led you up there, seeming to get a refill on his drink. And the priest is looking at you intently. What would you like to do?
He's just handing out mugs to whoever comes up?
To the dwarfs. Yeah, you seem to be the only non-dwarf in this place right now.
All right, I will kind of approach him.
He nods his head and in the common tongue says, um, "Another priest of Atavius. Did Endivin send you with what he owes us?"
No, I'm not here on any errand. Just trying to learn about the different gods within the temple, and I just learned a bit about Saint Avery, so I figured I'd come here next.
Well, I enjoy your wide-eyed curiosity, but the fellow from your church still owes us 2 gold coins for the time he came in and had drinks with us, and we've sent notice for him to pay it. If you would be so kind as to remind him of that, and then we might be a bit more forthright to entertain your ideas of shared learning. He shrugs.
My Lord Endovin is to be my patron while I'm in this town, so please allow me to pay his debt. Is the least I can do for since he will be
He, no-
trading me.
he nods his head and he says, "Angam doesn't care how it's made. Angam only cares that it is made." And he kind of puts his hand out to you to receive the coin.
Yep, and I'll hand him 2 gold coins.
You seek knowledge. So far, you've learned a little bit, understanding that coin is coin, and debts are debts, and what is owed is owed. And he kind of nods his head and then puts a mug out in front of you, and he says, "Understand that this one is free. The others will not be. So if you get into your cups, we'll get into your wallet."
Understood. I'll kind of raise up the mug and like nod at him and take a swig.
He grins and says a dwarvish prayer, what you assume is a prayer, and then drinks as well. Make a Constitution saving throw. Oh, it kind of like it hits a lot more potently than you anticipated. You drank beer, of course. You drank beer, but this is a bit stouter. You can feel just
Oh,
the richness of it.
this is a very dark.
Very dark, yes.
Yeah, yeah almost kind of like do a little like. It's good. It's good.
He nods and he says, Endovan took a shine to it. It doesn't look like you'll be as deep into your cups as he was the first time he came through."
No, I think this one will suit me. I'll kind of look around for the dwarf that led me in here.
Yeah, he's still standing next to you. He kind of looks over to you and he says, "If you ain't going to finish it, I'll finish it for you."
Is there any like free like seating or anything, or is it just kind
Yeah,
of
there is seating, but it's kind of dwarf sized. So you'll be kind of sitting down on a stool and your legs will kind of be awkwardly, like, you know, still on the ground.
yeah?
Yeah,
I feel like sitting in a chair in an elementary school or something.
basically. I mean, it's a little taller than that, but not much so. Go ahead.
If I just look to the dwarf and be like, my friend, perhaps we could take a seat and you could tell me a little bit more about this dwarvish pantheon you
Oh,
takes.
yeah, sure. Well, I'm a follower of. I specifically adhere to Throlk, the goddess of merriment, pleasure. I spend most of my time around this temple, but I will go out into the world and check out other places. Nice little establishment not too far from here, kind of closer to the center of town, called the Broken Blade. It's an interesting place. But yeah, Throlk is about keeping merry, staying happy, maintaining a good sense of charisma and a good sense of well-being. If you lose your own mind, your own will to live, you aren't much for it. Um, and the priest kind of nods his head as he kind of interjects and he says, "And I am a follower of Angam. As I've mentioned once, Angam is the crafter. He is he who creates the things of the world. Um, I understand it that your faith, the straightest arrow, the Order Bringer, is the only true God. Is that right?"
That is correct. Davius is the god, the one true god of justice and good and righteousness, and it is by his will and by his hand that we are able to enjoy these peaceful days. And I intend to uphold his wishes in that sense. It's one of the reasons I am here.
Well, as I understand it, and this may just be a joke, so do not take it too harshly, but I know in the days of the border wars, even the followers of Atavius came to worshippers of Angum to have their weapons straightened. So if you're looking for a truly straight arrow, you might want to come to a priest of Angum before you come to a priest of your god. And he kind of grins. The guy next to you says, now, there's no need to be coy with your religious talk, priest. Just get us another drink." The priest kind of nods his head, but he's got a smile on his face, like, my God's better than your God. My God's better than yours. As he walks away.
Yeah, I'll smile and be like, all goodly deities. I'm sure there are times when they ally themselves with one another. Angum straightens the blade, but Atavius wields it. We all have our parts to play.
The priest kind of hears you and kind of turns back as he's kind of getting the drink ready. Kind of comes back over to you and sets one in front of the dwarf. Doesn't seem to set one in front of you, as you seem to still be working on yours, and then kind of wanders away. The guy next to you says, "So what are you doing in town? You're new here. You're fresh-faced. I haven't seen you. And Niven's the only one who wears the Red Cross."
Oh, I'm here to complete my ordeal and attain my station amongst my peers.
What's that mean?
You see, within the religion of Atavius, all young knights, young followers, we must complete a series of trials in order to be fully realized within our order. I was given a chance once time ago, but I was unsuccessful. But by his grace and by his forgiveness, Atavius has blessed me with another chance, is why I am here.
Well, if anyone's going to show you the way of it, Enderman's a mighty fine lad, even though he's not terribly great at paying what he owes, as the priest already mentioned. But as far as forthright fellows, he's a strong man. He even can grow a beard like a dwarf.
Yes, I'm greatly looking forward to learning from him, and I appreciate learning from you as well, friend dwarf. It's always good to know who the stout allies of Atavius will be, should the time come where I need to find allies.
Well, what's your name?
They call me Isaac. Isaac Woods.
Well, my name's Berwin. Berwin Graveltoes. He offers his hand in a clasp, you presume, or a handshake.
Yeah, I'll do the old forearm handshake.
Yeah,
grab his forearm.
He does seem to reach for your forearm as well, and he kind of gives you a stout kind of grasp. And
what was his god's name again? Thrall.
Thralk. THROLTHK, and he said it was a goddess. Make a religion.
Goddess.
Make a religion check real quick though.
12.
Okay. You're kind of familiar with Dwarvish Pantheon, but you're not really familiar with their origin stories. You know that there's basically three children of the god Beldendar, and one of them is Angum, one of them is Thralt, and the other one is another god named Aguacy. And Aguacy is the god of strength. So the crafter, the warrior, and the reveler.
Are there any do I know if there's any in the Dwarvish pantheon that kind of like is their symbol of like righteousness or justice? The guy who goes in and like does the good thing.
So the three sons know. The main god know. The mountain is their order bringer, the one who is the law. You don't remember what that god's name is. You just know that the mountain that the dwarfs came from, the earth itself, is a god in the Dwarvish pantheon.
Cool. Well, I'll try my best to stomach the rest of my drink before I get up and try to head back to the Atavian cloister.
Okay. And Berwin says, if you're ever in need of any help or any guidance or any alcohol, we'll be right next door.
Sounds good. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise. You head on back and make it there. You only spend about 20 or 30 or so minutes before Endovin kind of comes to you and sits with you. and basically you enter into one of the offices or entryway doors when you first saw on that one side, and there is a dining table set there and a cook pot in the back. And he goes to the cook pot, which is setting over a simmering fire, and pulls out a stew. Kind of pours two bowls of it, sets them down, and then pulls out two uh, goblets um, and sets them out as well, and pours you beverage. It appears the bottle that he's pouring it from appears to be a bottle of wine, and you would recognize it as from the home country. This appears to be from the kingdom of Liberus, the one that's kind of being destroyed by Ludos. Looks like it's a good year as well, and pours you a cup of that, sets the bottle out in the center, and says, "What I've been told of you is that you did not complete your ordeal, and you've been sent here to complete the ordeal of the oath. Um, is that correct?"
That's correct. I've been tasked by the High Lord of the monastery to finish my oath before I can return, and also to complete. And I kind of the book over my shoulder. I kind of lay it down on the table and be like, "I need. You probably recognize this.
Yes.
It's the Book of Deeds. I'm to complete 100 entries before it is considered my task is considered done."
I understand. Um, you are, of course, understanding too that Atavius hears your prayers. So that being said, and this being our first meeting, I will allow you to say grace over this meal that I presented to you. And in that grace, I would hope that you pray for guidance and that you pray for what you feel you need in attaining your oath. He kind of goes silently into a prayer, like his eyes close, and he puts his hands before his chest.
Yep. I'll recite the Lord's Prayer and kind of add a little bit of pretty much asking for guidance, for that my deeds be just and that I to make the right decisions and to only bring glory and praise upon the world in His name, and to essentially right my past wrongs, and so that I may walk in His light again, that kind of thing.
He looks to his food after the prayer is completed, and begins to eat. And what you didn't notice before, you notice now. It looks like the upper portion of his lip on his side that's shorter. It looks like it's been completely cut away. It looks like a serious wound, possibly from an axe blow or a sword blow to the face. And his hair seems to be kind of covering it up, but as he kind of moves to chew and such, it's a bit more noticeable. So he's previously wounded, but seems to kind of keep the beard to maintain a sense of perception. Like so he's perceived as not wounded. The food's tasty enough. The wine's especially good. But he does kind of keep quiet while he eats and drinks.
I'll attempt to break the silence. I'll sip the wine and be like, I don't know how many more bottles of this we'll be able to enjoy if this war continues to ravage the land.
He sets his cup down and kind of looks to you and he says, My father was one of the judges, the pelagic judges of Liberus. It's a great honor to be bestowed upon him some 30 years ago. When his seat was taken over by a new pelagic arbiter, we understood that there was a bit of tumult coming from the triumvir of the west, and when their forces came, we left by boat in hopes of maintaining some sense of rightness in the world. We had family here in Parnac, though. Do you have any family here?
No, my only remaining family is my father back in
Munia.
Munia. He continues to work his lumber mill and do the best he can with the time he has left. He has no brothers, sisters. My mother uh, passed away when I was young, and he's never had any desire to remarry. So it's one of the reasons I joined the faith.
Well,
was to
as an
become part of the Brotherhood.
as an Atavian priest and a knight of the Comus Palatinus, you have you have a sense of a strong foundation to build up your own home and your own house here in this world, this old world. Um, I am very hopeful for you, and I hope that you can find um, the truth of your oath. He continues to go to his meal quietly. If you have anything to say to him, that's fine, but probably not much more is going to get his attention.
No, I'll just kind of take the hint, kind of just finish the meal in silence.
He says he's going to turn in, and he tells you, you were sent here for a purpose, to complete your ordeal. As I understand it, the initiator of your ordeal, your former patron, wished for you to destroy a cell of cultists, and you were unwilling to kill one that was young. Is that right?
That is correct.
So, as I can see it in your eyes, there's a sense of mercy in your eyes. You are not a seeker of vengeance. You do not care for that. Is that true?
That is true. I am a giver of mercy. I do not wish to take lives that have not done wrong. Those who have not been proven wicked, it is hard for me simply to end a life simply because of what may come to pass, not what has come to pass. As was very difficult for me.
Your sense of devotion is strong. I can tell it in you, just because you are here. Not many would travel thousands of miles, dozens and dozens of days, to meet with someone that they've never met simply because they were ordered to do so by their master. With that, I tell you what your ordeal will be. You and I will travel into the wilds near a village called Squallow, to the north of the city. We'll do so tomorrow morning, its first light, as Aryaman makes his way into the sky. We are seeking out a cultist whose name is Mekon. When we find him, we will put him to the sword. However, because of your past failings, I ask you this now. When we find him, he will pay for his crimes. I ask you, if you do not wish to put him down, if you wish to drag him back to this place and put him before the laws of the land, I will not stop you. Or, if you wish to give it to those who he has wronged, so that they can have their rightful vengeance upon he who has harmed them, that will be your decision as well. I will simply be your aide, your guide, and ultimately your judge when you finish and complete this ordeal. Do you understand, young Woods?
I do. May I be so frank as to ask what sins he has committed? I know as a cultist and worshiper of the Dark One, there's that within itself is an act, but has he put any to the sword himself? Has he done wrongdoings?
It is not for me to tell you what has happened. We will meet with the victims tomorrow as we seek out his lair, and you can ask them.
Very good. I shall do so.
You better get your rest. It's been a long journey, and tomorrow we have more ahead of us. He heads to his room and closes the door behind him.
I'll do the same. Do I have a small copy of the Bynot with me, or is there one in the room?
Yeah, you would have a copy of the Bynot. Actually, your book is probably not just empty pages that need to be filled out with deeds. It's probably segmented in 3 portions. You probably have the Bynot, a segment for your current, like your journal, and then like a set of pages in the back, one for each deed that needs to be completed.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably read a little bit, just kind of ease my nerves. was definitely a little bit nervous going into this ordeal in the morning. This is kind of like, this is it. This is my second chance. What I traveled the whole way for. So I'll kind of read some of the more peaceful, encouraging passages to kind of lull me to sleep.
Okay. And one thing that kind of sticks with you, and it does have passage in the Bynod towards its later pages, more towards the story of the ascension of Ahriman the First, the first king of Osiria. Um, there seems to be this kind of in your mind, even he was willing to show mercy to the people of that land, um, even if they were initially in opposition of him. So you kind of like focus in on those stories, and it helps you kind of with dealing with what has been told to you by this new patron and your choices that you made when you made them. Um, you're awakened really early, but you are ready for it. You basically have prepared yourself before the door has even been thrown open. You've lived the priestly life. You're not unfamiliar with an early day. And he has his things gathered as well, and you make your way out into the city. Durans is a strange city. The area that you are surrounded by, your church is surrounded by, is called the Red District. The reason why it's called that is all of the buildings have red bricked tile roofs to them. Those buildings, rather, that have roofs at all. But it seems that a lot of the folks here, these are residences. This is absolutely a place where folks would be residing. There isn't too much in the way of business or commerce. You pass through the center district. This appears to be where most of the commerce is done. You do kind of see idly as you pass by it the Broken Blade, that tavern that was mentioned to you before. And you continue on out of the north side of the city. But that north side of the city is heavily fortified. It appears that what looks like just a casual city on its one side is completely militarized and is more fortified than any city you've ever seen in your life. There's high, ramparts with strong buttressed walls and anti-siege weaponry, the likes of which you've never seen. Dwarfs seem to be manning strange-looking ballistas that are very similar to the Atavian crossbow, which is kind of a pneumatic weapon. It also seems that there are catapults and the like. But yeah, they allow you access out of the city, and you march for quite some time before you get to the first farmhouse. Endabin tells you along the way that some of the farm folk have had issue with Mekon and his kind, and they're hoping that they can find Mekon and bring him to justice, depending on what is reported by the farmers. Come up to the farmhouse, and you can see that there's a lady sitting out on the porch, older, a bit older, and as she kind of is just looking at you idly, the door behind her opens up, and a farmer gentleman kind of walks out to greet you. And he says, "Ah, the Atavian priests, by the light. Thank goodness you're here." And Endavin kind of nods at you, kind of like seems like he's taking it back and sees this.
Oh, good sir. Yes, I'm Sir Isaac of sorry, I keep forgetting what that promise. I'm gonna write it down.
Parish of Ahriman's Light.
I am Isaac of Ahriman's Light, of the monastery. I'm here to help you. Please, tell me of Aguasi Mekon and what he has, the blight he has put upon your land.
Aguasi was the Dwarven god. Sorry, it wasn't part of the tradition. Just Mekon.
Oh, sorry, Mekon.
Mm-hmm. He says, "My name's Andrew, Andrew Hornbeck, and my friends and family know me as a tough fellow, but my son James and my son Paul, they were taken. They were taken in the night, some 2 or 3 days ago, and I know that you folks can help me. A couple of other clerics and priests have been coming around the town, coming around Squallow, looking to help out, And most folks tell me, well, you shouldn't trust uh, your own faith. You should trust the faith of the land. You should trust in Averio and the gods of the fair folk. And I say bullshit to that. I came out here from Osiria, was forced to come out and make a life for myself and eke out what I could. And I mean, look around you. Haven't done too bad, and it looks like a pretty decent farm. Not too shabby. And he says, but I only trust servants of my God to assist. And you look like a mighty fine example of that. They took him north, those cultists, and there's a couple of hills out that way, and I'm pretty sure I know where they're at, based on what the old constable had said.
All right. Can you point me in the right direction and well, apprehend this desecrator
Well,
and put him in chains?
well, sure. It would seem that they traveled north and are hiding out. And according to the constable, he had said that there are some bandits laying up in that area, a place called Dwarves Rock. And they call it that because it looks like it might be a mountain, but it looks like it's too short. I guess that's why they're calling it. And um, well, I think that they might be around those parts. There was some strange girl coming about, asking questions as well. But I told all the town folk, and I told her too. I won't be having it. I'm not interested in helping them out. They can go find my boys without my blessing, because, to be frank, I wouldn't want them to think growing up in a world where the light of Atavius can't be shown to be as true as it can be.
Well said, sir. Do not fear. Us, the servants of Atavius will bring back your boys safely, and the perpetrator will be brought to justice this day. You have my word.
Not very good. I believe in it. He looks at Endovan. He says, "Thank you for getting my message." And Endovan kind of nods. And he steps forward, and in Osirian, which you understand, and so does this farmer, he says, Natavius' path has been set, the arrow has been loosed. We will be traveling as we can, by light of the sun, to find the darkness and destroy it. And blessed be, blessed be. They both give greetings from each other. He looks over to you and he says, well met. So it would seem that others had tried to assist him, and he turned them away. What do you think of the wisdom of that?
This is Andovan asking me?
Yeah, he's kind of taking you aside.
Gonna rub my chin. So, I do not know. I'm not a father, so it's hard for me to judge the decisions, but I feel as though if the lives of my children were in peril, I would take help where I could get it. Though his devotion to our faith is unquestionable, what is that to the lives of his own children?
So I ask you, what would be more important to you? The devotion or the vengeance?
I would have to say the devotion. It is just to seek out murder and killing just for the sake of it, just to appease your own bloodlust when you've been done a wrong. It does not sit well with me. There are steps we all must take.
Do you think that the priest that he has spoken to would have killed them with no questions asked?
I do not know which god that priest follows. I had learned a lot yesterday of Saint Averu, and if he was a follower of such, I do not believe he would have simply killed Mikon unless he was in that life or death situation. Those followers of Averu also seem to have some value of justice.
It seems again that your mercy shines through. Very good. I will follow you on your path. I will tell you that I know exactly where Dwarf's Rock is, and can guide you there. He looks over to Andrew again, nods his head. He says, Mr. Hornbeck, we will have your sons back to you. And you kind of start wandering off. Up ahead, as it kind of gets closer to like darker times, not evening per se, but definitely darker out, you would see the hill that you were instructed to go to, Dwarves Rock. And with it being a little bit dark, you do see that there's a bit of a flicker of light inside of what looks like a cave, kind of set in one facing of the rock.
Hmm. Seems this is we found the camp. He's called the cultist camp.
Remember,
And it kind of
too, that he said that this place was um, a bandit hold. At least that's what the constable had told him.
is a question though. Are these simple bandits or is Mikon among them? Perhaps he is trying to impose his dark influence among these petty thugs and recruit them to his side.
I tell you, that is a possibility. Shall we go in with our weapons drawn, or shall we go in with our hands raised in peace?
Hmm. This is a bandit's hold. I'm sure they have spoils they do not wish to lose. I will keep my sword and my shield ready, but I will not make the first strike.
As you say that, he reaches to the hilt of his sword, draws it with a shink, and it seems to be a long sword, but just a little bit longer than a long sword. Somewhere in between a great sword and a long sword. Definitely a
It's like a
heftier blade.
bastard sword.
Like a bastard sword, exactly. And a hand and a halfer. And he kind of takes it in both of his hands, kind of holds it off to one side, and walks with you as you walk up into the hill cave. I'm going to go ahead and pull us to a battle map. We're not going straight to combat or anything. It's just to kind of give you perspective.
Sure.
So on the right side of the map.
Yep. All right. I don't think we're really going to have much success with stealth. Hopefully our presence enough will stay their hands long enough to have a discussion.
But as you can see, there's a bit of light kind of coming from the side there, right?
Yep.
Endovan kind of looks to you and has his sword drawn. He stands, to your side and says, "I follow your lead."
All right. We
Okay.
approach.
Kind of march up this kind of uphill that seems to kind of go into the cave. And as you come around the bend, you see a gentleman in a purple hood, kind of startled by your, approach. Kind of look over to you, and go, "Huh!" And it kind of looks like he's reaching for a dagger. If you would like, go
Oh,
ahead and roll initiative.
oh Jesus. Best get that out of the way now. And that's solid one.
Yeah, good starter. Sure. Hold on a second here. All right. As the bandit goes for his dagger, Endovan standing kind of like off to your side and behind you, he says, "Your call," and looks like he's ready to rush forward or like step in to defend.
Say, hold. We will try to get information from this man first. We do not know who he is.
Okay, he'll ready his action. The bandit kind of stands up and says, "Ah, who are you?" And then he kind of like raises the dagger up. Looks like he's ready to throw it. Kind of steps forward a little bit. He's holding a lantern in one hand and a dagger in the other. He's taking his action to ready it to attack if he is attacked.
Hold, good sir. We do not seem come in here seeking violence. We are searching for someone. Perhaps you can help us, and we'll be on our way. We do not need to exchange blows this day. And I'll kind of plant my sword in the ground, non-threateningly. Be like, let us speak.
He kind of looks at you, and Endovin's kind of waiting. He moves a bit, kind of up the hill a bit. Looks like he's ready to cut off the bandit if the bandit attempts to move with the
To flee?
entrance. Yeah, because he sees the entrance there.
Alright.
The bandit kind of like has his dagger, and he throws it towards Endovin as he's bolting for the entrance to the cave.
Oh, so he's trying to run away?
He throws a dagger. That would be a 20 to hit. Endovin takes it to the shoulder. It kind of grazes his half plate, cuts underneath it. You can see a small glint of red kind of flare out. As he kind of moves towards the door, Endovin kind of steps in with sword and brings it down at him in a chop. Do you do anything in this? Say anything?
No. I'll let him do his thing.
He swings and he misses. The bandit continues his traffic and seems to make it towards the opening to the door and yells down it, "We've got intruders!" Goes to you. Endovin kind of looks back to you and then looks to the bandit.
Alright, you've made first blood. In that case, can't let that go unanswered, so I'll run up and try to cut him down.
Okay.
So that's a 16
Hits.
for 5. Oh, geez, damage rolls.
Yeah, not so good. It takes him down a bit, like he kind of loses his footing, and he looks bloodied. He kind of looks back to you and kind of looks at you with like a look of fear, absolute fear. And Endovin kind of steps in alongside you, drags the sword kind of down against the stone, and then draws it upwards in a arcing motion. Misses, I think. No, hits dead on. Cuts him along the side, mostly underneath the armpit, which causes him to hit the ground, bleeding. His back against the wall there, as he lays there dying.
Dying or dead?
Dying.
Oh, whatchamacallit? He's not, he's just kind of like clutching his wound or something?
No. Like, he hits the ground and he's bleeding. Like, he's in the dying state. So, effectively, he's at 0 hit points and he's bleeding out.
Oh, so he's, like, passed out.
Yeah.
Alright. Is he wearing anything, like, that to denote him as, like, anything like a necklace or any sort of symbol?
His purple kind of hood and cloak is kind of like locked together with a pin. The pin has a purple hooded skull head set inside of it, and it then kind of looks down to it and kind of looks to you, and he says, "Foul hoods."
It's the bandits, I would assume.
Local bandits, yeah. They mostly stay in larger cities. Very strange to see them out here in the wilds. You hear down the way, like kind of like a bit of stone, like footfall on stone.
Oh, and I kind of look toward Endovin's shoulder, like just the tiny little, like this little bit of blood that's really dripping down. I'd be like, they drew first blood. I tried to show them mercy, but clearly these bandits would rather come to blows than come to reason.
Then I guess we're going in. And he kind of steps past the fallen guy. He looks to him and he says, "Shall we leave him here for mercy and hope that he survives the blow, or should I put him out of his misery?"
How bad is his wound?
He's got a pretty strong cut that basically goes from like where the nipple is up to the armpit, and then up out of the top of the arm. And basically a decent amount of blood is kind of flooding down his shirt, his jerkin, from that wound.
We'll grant him We'll grant him mercy and let him walk amongst his gods.
Endovan places the blade gently on his chest, just below the chin, and just pierces the throat through. As he's doing that, you hear the sound of a as a dagger comes flying towards Endovan. Actually, yeah, not a dagger. Crossbow bolt, which will hit. It didn't roll. That'll be fine. So it hits him in the arm, but it also just kind of glances. Not having a good day of it. He's not bloodied, though. Mostly just scratches so far that have been taken. And
yeah, he's a thick boy.
I was a fool to delete our initiatives. I should have just kept him on board. But
I'm
yeah,
okay with that.
with re-rolling, you mean? Or
Yeah.
go ahead and roll him.
All things considered.
You rolled pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Hey, boy.
Now we are thick boys.
Now we go fast. Gotta go fast. Oh, shit. So Endovan's going a little slower this time. Alright, so the Fellhead tosses his dagger, or fires his crossbow at Endovan. And then you kind of look down the way, and I think you can kind of see him.
Yeah, I can see him here. I can see him. Alright, so I can't get to him, but I saw Endovan got hit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dash and just get in front of him, kind of with my shield ready, like trying to be the more appetizing target since Endovan already took a hit on my accord.
Okay, because he's in a bit of dim light. Are you emanating light? You're not, are you?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't have light or anything. I'm just a young boy.
It's completely dim in here. It doesn't seem that there's much in the way of light, but he is hidden in shadows, basically obscured. So go ahead and make an attack.
I had to dash. That was 40 feet.
Okay. So yeah, you can just kind of see him in the darkness. He's going to go ahead and, because he can't see you too well either, take an attack against you. So his advantage for you not being able to see him is going to be meted out by the fact that he can't see you. So
just normal then?
Yep. Regular dagger attack comes in. You feel it come close and kind of grace it away with your sword guard. And then Endovan pulls out something out of his pocket and says a word in Old Osirian, which you know to be "guide my path." And you see light kind of flare out from him. He seems to be holding a rock in one hand and a sword in the other. And he moves in behind you.
It's a holy symbol.
It would seem that the wall to the north of you, or on your right side, seems to have a couple of passageways that you didn't notice in the darkness that lead into a small or a larger room. But yeah, he moves over to it, and the light seems to be shining through one of those passageways as well.
Cool. Cool. So, sorry, I'm just waiting for you to move the initiative.
Sorry. It should be your, I'm clicking it.
Is it just like lagging or something?
No, I was typing in Twitch.
Oh, no worries.
Trying to be a cool kid.
Hey. Alright, yeah, well, this guy tried to stab me, I'll return in kind.
Ooh, nice.
So it's just an 8, because no advantages.
Yeah, still a strong enough blow to kind of like cause him to back off and reel from the attack. He looks like he is not a fan of the attack, and he's bleeding as you kind of grace it across his jerkin on his chest, past his dagger hand, and kind of cut into him quite a bit. He turns away from you and just kind of runs into the passageway. This does provoke opportunity attack.
Can I make an opportunity attack non-lethal, or is it just kind of go for it? All right, so I'm gonna go for non-lethal. So I guess I'm trying to sweep the leg or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as he as he kind of like turns away from you and darts, you bring the back of your weapon down so that it'll hit right at the sword guard at his leg and hit him so that he trips and kind of slams into the stone. A bit of blood kind of flies out from his mouth, but you don't think he's dying. You just think he's unconscious, and that's where he'll end up right there.
Perfect.
As he kind of cries out and thuds, you hear oh, is that you? I need healing. Please help."
Is that coming? That's not coming from him. It's
No, it's someone else
something else.
coming from inside the chamber. Endovan kind of looks into the room that he's like near, and he's looking at it, and he says, "Blue mushrooms. Unbelievable." And he kind of looks to you. He's shaking his head.
Skooma Farm is.
Well, not skooma. That's a copyright. Whoops. No, he says it's used to make mind rot. It's a mushroom powder, drug that addles the mind but puts people in euphoria. He shrugs. Whoever's beyond, I don't know if they'll be in the rightest of states, but to grow these mushrooms takes certain rites.
Yeah. A product of degenerates and outcasts and lawless folk. Perhaps we can set it aflame before we leave.
He kind of looks to it and moves over to the guy you knocked unconscious. As he does so, he kind of just reaches down over him, and you hear a metal clink, and as he pulls away from him, you see that he's put the bandit's hands behind his back and set manacles on his arms. And he looks to you and he says, "It's the only set I've got, but should hold it."
That'd be fine. I'm sure he's thieved from some of the local folk, and I'm sure the local constabulary will have a cell waiting for him. We'll drag him back.
Nods his head. There's more beyond. Let us beyond.
Yes, continue.
If you come around the passageway past the knocked out fellowhood, to your left there's not that way, over here, and you would notice that there's a stairway to the left that goes down into a lit room, and a poorly lit room, and there's a passageway that leads north into the dark.
There was nothing beyond the mushroom farm, right? It was just a room full of mushrooms?
Correct. And you would notice that there's a couple of boxes and stuff and alchemist set that appears to be for the production of the blue powder.
Oh, you cut out.
There appears to be an alchemist set that seems to be for the production of the blue powder.
Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it for now. And that cry for healing that came from below or straight ahead?
The stairs.
The stairs? Alright, I'll go down the stairs.
Okay. You come around to see a bed. There's a desk that looks like it has Terugian kind of articles set upon the table, like surgeon stuff and medical tools. And on the bed there's a man in a jerkin and purple hood, but it looks like some of it's been torn away to reveal a wound on his chest. And yeah, that'd be right around the corner there. So like right here. Yeah. And the man on it kind of looks over to you, bandage over his eye as well, and kind of looks at you. It looks like they've been treating the wound and keeping it clean, and he looks to you with kind of a look of surprise. Inquisitors, I knew the day would come. And Devin kind of looks to you, then looks back to him with kind of a look of curiosity.
Who are you?
My name's not important. Just a fellowhood. We got into a bad business deal. Again, I knew it would end up like this.
If you believe we are Inquisitors, then you probably know of who we seek. Is he here?
Mikon is not here. He's retreated. There was rumors that a cleric priestess of the moon goddess and a cleric priest of Beldendar from the town of Squallow were seeking him out, so he's hidden away. They took out the other shrine. They took out the other place. They took out the acolyte. Megon's gone into hiding. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter. If Chiffre doesn't find him, Calareth will.
Where is he hiding? Do you have any ideas?
Couldn't tell you. Even if I wanted to. Doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to get me back to the city if that's where you're taking me. I won't make it. Not without the treatments.
What's ailing you? Perhaps we can help.
Yeah, sure. Probably not, though, but there's a manticore over by the old shrine. And when we were escaping after the cleric and the dwarf did their work, we ran afoul of them. Not many of us made it back, but
you got stung.
Borg has been doing what he can to help out, but yeah, I don't think I'm luck for this world. Endovan says he's right. In his state, we won't be able to get him back to the city.
The light of Atavius could heal him, and we could, so that he may he may face the justice for the wrongs he's committed.
He says to you, "I'm a knight. I'm a soldier of the Inquisition. I'm no priest."
Can our lay on hands heal diseases if you use enough points?
Can't your lay on hands? Yeah.
My lay on hands? That's what I'm saying.
What I'm telling you, out of character and in character, is Endovan's not a cleric or a priest or a paladin.
Oh, he's a
thug McNasty with religion trained.
Oh, okay. Alright, I'll look to this fellow and be like, are you ready to leave this world, or are you prepared to face justice? I will let you choose. And your fate, and leave your fate in your own hands.
I'll be honest, if the options are die here in this cold, dark place, or go before the magistrate and plead my case, I'll take B.
So you're ready to face justice, in that sense.
I'd rather face justice alive than... I know my crimes aren't suitable of a death penalty. I haven't killed anybody.
Alright. And you will atone for your crimes, and you will live to see another day, I swear. I'm gonna just make sure he's not armed or anything.
He does not have any weapons on him.
Right.
His weapons are actually on the table behind Endovan.
Alright. And I will do you this kindness, and I will put my trust in you, that you will, and thanks for this, you will not attempt to escape, and you will seek the justice that I am putting upon you.
Yeah, sure, you got it. Make an insight check. Yeah, he seems truthful.
Alright, then I will kind of kneel before him, say a prayer. I guess my hands go all cool guy, and I'll heal him with lay on hands and remove the disease from his body.
You'll realize that you'll spend your 5 points on it and heal him to remove the disease, because it takes 5 points to heal a disease. Once it's done so, the blackness around the wound seems to kind of go away, and it does look like it's well kept and cleaned, besides. And he kind of closes his hand over his shoulder and reaches for the wraps on the side table and starts wrapping up his arm. And he says, "Thank you, Paladin. I'll wait here for you."
You will wait here? No, you will come with us. We will be taking you and your mates to the magistrate today until we decide, because we will need to regroup and figure out just where Meekson has gone. You
hear a sharp cutting sound, and you turn and look behind you, and you see Endovan has cut off a length of rope from a bundle of rope that he had, walks over to this bandit, and basically tells him to put his hands behind his back, ties his hands up in what you think it looks like some of the knots that the sailors were tying on the ship on your way here. Endovan seems pretty keen on that. And he says, then he hog ties him and ties him to the mantle of the bed and says, "If we get into a kerfuffle, he'll be more of a liability than anything else. I do understand your mercifulness and your duty, but it's just a bad idea to keep him with us."
Alright.
The
We'll
guy's
return for him when our task is complete then.
the guy's kind of like struggling against the ropes, and he's like, ah! And Edvin kind of walks out. As you guys are walking out and towards the darkness, Edvin holding his light rock up, he says to you, "You know, the second that we would have gotten out of sight of him, he would have ran away, right?"
Oh, I do not doubt it, but like as I've said before, Octavius's mercy runs deep within me. As it has been shown to me, I feel it is my duty to show it to others.
There seems to be a small passageway to the side there that leads into another room down some steps, and then there's a when he comes around the corner, it looks like there is a passageway north, or not north, but east on the north side.
No, we'll go down these stairs, check that out first.
Okay.
Like, see if it's another room or if it's something more.
Yeah, it is another room. Inside, though, it looks like there's just a bit of clutter and messed up stuff. But there is a single table that seems to kind of stand out. And sitting on the table is a strange-looking rock with an elvish symbol on it.
Do I recognize it? I speak Elvish.
The mark is a rune, which you can kind of understand and make out. And you realize that what it says on it is speed. It's the rune for the word speed or haste.
I'm gonna pick up the stone and say it out loud and see if that does
Doesn't seem
anything.
to activate or do anything. You
All
can
right.
make a religion check, though, if you'd like.
Jeez, I'm dumb.
You think it has some sort of religious significance, but the roll of 7 will not let you know anything more about it other than it seems to be some kind of religious icon.
I'll hold on to it. Seems to be of some significance.
Okay. Endovan kind of looks down the hall, and he raises his blade in kind of a martial stance, and you hear a voice coming from down the hall. No, wait, hold on. And you hear clink, 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 as something's thrown out onto the stone. Endovan kind of gestures for you to take the lead and kind of move past him into the floor.
This guy just throw some caltrops on the ground.
No, come around the corner. You see a bandit with his hands up over his head, and it looks like he's got a hand crossbow and a dagger that's been thrown out onto the floor in front of him. He says, look. I'll tell you, Borg's just around the corner here. I'm not willing to die for anything. And if you've made it this far, that means you've made it past all of our other guys. So I'm surrendering myself. I haven't done anything illegal. I've only been in the city for a while. And some of the shit that these people have been doing is way outside of what I'm willing to die for. So I'm just surrendering, okay? Whatever you need to do. And go ahead and make an insight check.
One day.
You definitely feel that he's on the level. You definitely feel that he's on the level. And Endovan kind of steps in behind you and he says, this one seems to have a bit of a conscience. We should take him
Yeah,
this
it seems to. This one's a bit wiser than the others.
Look, I'll tell you everything you need to know. If you go and deal with Borg real quick, I'll stay here, and then I'll answer any questions you have. Just so long as my, any justice I have to take against or suffer it's not as deep as what you're about to go do around that corner. I'm for sure of that.
No, you will. You're wiser than these others, and if what you say is true, the justice that you will meet will not be as severe.
All right. Endovan kind of walks in behind you and says to the guy, there's only one other person in this chamber. He says, yeah, just around the corner there. He's in a workshop, an old dwarf workshop that was built into the stone here. Be careful, he's quite a powerful spellcaster, and he may cause you some trouble. But he's weak and frail. If you can get those blades into him quick enough, if you can get in close to him, you shouldn't have much of a worry. But he's definitely a cultist, and he's definitely a worshipper of one of the demon princes of the Shedden.
His name's Borg?
His name's Borg. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Look to Endovan and be like, if we can take him by surprise and get him on his knees, we may be able to find out where this Meekson has gone to hiding.
We have time for questions here. Do you have anything that you want to know about this bandit? Why he's so willing to give up his compatriot? Why is Why is he here? Why are these bandits in league with this cultist if it's such a bad situation for this young lad?
Allying you fellhoods, allying yourself with Borg and Meekson has seemed to brought you nothing but ruin and little in terms of profits. Why? Do you know why?
Because Chiffre is an idiot. Our leader in the city is an idiot, and the drugs that they're able to make have been selling really well, but I don't think it's worth the trouble that we're getting from not only the law, but also from religious folks like yourself. We've had several paladins and clerics wandering the countryside seeking us out. I don't think this is a good idea. I'd rather just go about the regular practices of robbing people on the roads. You know, this is foul stuff, and I'm not interested any longer.
Oh, you would do smart to get away from this, and you would do well to turn away from the fellhoods. Even your petty crimes, you'll only get so far.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely taking this as a second chance. Maybe I can get a job down on the river at Squallow or something. Who knows?
Indeed.
I'll wait right here for you. And he sits down on the stone and he just waits there. You hear a shink, and you see Endovan kind of come over, tie the man off. He says, "I said I'd wait," and he says, "I understand. It's not that we don't trust you; it's just that we don't trust you." And he ties him to he ties him to a metal torch sconce that doesn't have any torch in it, so that he's held there. And Endovan kind of nods to you. He probably wouldn't have ran away, but better safe
No,
than sorry.
can't be too sure. And he'll also need to go before the magistrate. Can't have him getting too off or running off.
Hmm. And he says, "Lead the way." And
And we do
yeah,
so. Is this a door or can I
looks like
walk
it
in
goes
there?
around a corner there, to the north. You got to keep going around.
Oh, oh, oh!
Oh,
There we go.
yeah. And then Endovan kind of comes around. There's a small little like rest area here with a table. Looks like there's a set of cards there. You kind of come around further to. You pass by a shrine. On the shrine is a statue of a dragon. Do you want to take a look at that real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, make a religion check. And this one is with advantage because of your time within the Inquisition. Okay, what'd you get?
22.
So that would tell you that the statue that's present here is the icon of Ashmedea. Ashmedea is the demon princess of greed, and she's also known as the Heartless One. She's typically represented as a big red dragon with a wound on her chest.
That's the one. And
Yeah,
Saint Avery was the one who shreked her.
lanced her right in the heart. You betcha.
All right.
And according to what you know with that 22, it said that after she was killed, she, without a heart, lived on, went into the gate of greed in seeking, whatever she could to keep herself alive. Found the demon prince that lived there, as powerful as he was. After she defeated him, she shoved that demon prince into her own heart space, and now subsides and lives off of it, basically acting as her heart.
Jesus. Yeah, she's bad news.
Yes, by the abyss, Endovan says as he looks to the statue. I didn't think there would be cultists this close, but the rumors are true. Let us be on with it.
When our deed here is done, we will desecrate this altar. I mean, must not be allowed to stand so close to our holy place.
Of course. And he kind of gestures towards the pathway. You can hear that there's a bit of noise coming from there, but it kind of quiets down as you kind of pay attention to that direction. When you come around the way, you're on a high point that's kind of over about 10 feet above the other ground. In the center of the room that you come upon, there is a pit. The pit is filled with smoldering coals, kind of burning white or hot in the center. Looks like a forge. And there's a person that's kind of standing over an anvil, a set of tongs in one hand, and a hammer in the other. He drops the hammer, pulls out a dagger, and places it on his palm, and cuts his palm gently as he kind of looks up to you. He's wearing a suit of scale armor, and he has a hood up over his head, but you can see that his skin and face underneath seem to be corrupted away, as you have seen the cultists that you dealt with in the past. They basically have dried out their own life essence to empower their magics, which is a bad practice indeed.
So we were about 10 feet above him, right?
Yep. The steps go down 10 feet. That's right.
Is there like, is there like a railing here? Or is it just like a straight drop?
Straight drop. Borg kind of looks to you, who you presume is Borg, and as he like cuts his hand with the dagger, he drops the dagger and blood kind of runs from it, and he says, "Atavian fools, come and feel the corruption. Feel the power of the demon princess enter your hearts."
Alright, I'll have my sword. I'll say, let the fires of the sun god purge you of this so-called corruption.
Mm-hmm. And as you step in, he kind of raises his hand, and a black bolt darts out from his hand. And Endovin quickly pushes you against the wall and steps in between you and it. And the bolt hits him square in the chest.
Oh shit.
1 second. Bear with me here for 1 moment, please. My stuff's lagging a little bit. At least my stream isn't, though. It was last week.
Too much cool guy stuff going on.
Oh, there's so much cool guy stuff going on. Okay, so the black bolt hits him, and Endovin kind of reels, falls to the ground. Looks like he's in a bit of agony, and his eyes kind of roll into the back of the head as he kind of shakes on the ground. Roll initiative. What'd you get?
15.
Not bad, not bad.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Oh, damn, he's quick. Quick boy.
All right. Let's see. Come on, computer. It won't let me reorder them. Hold on. There we go. All right, so he kind of looks at you with anger as this old man steps in between you and this bolt that he's unleashed, and he kind of then has a shocked look of surprise and says, "Ah!" And then he reaches down behind like the steps and such. You hear him draw a weapon from a sheath, and he seems to be holding a curved blade now, and he kind of moves towards the steps to go up them. Once he makes it to the top of the steps, he runs to Endovin, and he kind of looks to you, brings the blade in, and sets it against Endovin's neck. Looks like he's readying an action to finish him off, and says, "You leave now, or the man dies."
Death in service to Atavius is the most glorious death we could ask for. We do not yield. And I'm gonna just hold my shield. I'm not even gonna use my sword. I'm gonna raise my shield up, and I'm just gonna try to full bore, like, charge into him so that we both kind of go down this, like, tumble down the stairs or something.
Make an athletics check. All right. He's gonna make a scimitar attack with disadvantage. Okay. So as you kind of rush at him, he kind of tries to get the sword in there to get Endovin, but you kind of catch the point of the blade and push it back towards his chest. You slam into him and push him to the steps, which causes him to continue to roll down the steps. Make an acrobatics check. you two tumble down the steps, and you end up on top of him.
Yeah. Come down for the pin.
Endovin's kind of laying there, and he kind of like, and you look up the steps like from your position and see that he's spitting up this weird black liquid, and he kind of like is feeling around on the ground for a sword, and you hear him scrape it close, like pull it across the stone so it's drawn up to his chest. It doesn't look like he's dead. The next up is the cultist, who's kind of underneath you. In the kerfuffle, he managed to keep a hold of his scimitar. He will try and kind of wield it in on you, but you're currently pinning him, so he'll have disadvantage on his attack. 14 misses, right?
Yep.
You kind of keep your shield in between him and keep that point on the blade, or point on the shield, keeping it down. You're up.
All right, because I'm assuming I'm kind of in the. I'm gonna get up and kind of stand over him, so he's like between my legs, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna
straddling him, yeah.
And I'm gonna take my sword. I'm gonna attempt to cut off his sword hand.
Okay. Make an attack. All right.
22.
You swing in on his hand as he's kind of raising it up with kind of pushing it against the shield. You kind of draw him up with your shield as you stand up, and then you bring your blade in, and you kind of blink as the attack is made. When you open up your eyes, your face is covered with blood, and the ground is splattered with blood as well. His hand is completely removed.
All right.
His eyes are also rolling into the back of his head. As his hand is cut off.
I'll just yell, just like, yield! Yield!
He looks like he's falling unconscious. Like, you did enough damage to kill him. Like, his hand's gone, though.
Oh, shit. Whoops.
Alright, Endovan seems to be kind of struggling to get up. What would be your next action after that?
You said, okay, if this guy's like done skis or he's passing out, then yeah, I'm gonna run back up and try to help Endovan as best I can. Like, I guess try to lift him up against the wall so that he's not like struggling to breathe as hard.
As you kind of get up the steps, you hear this sizzling sound, and from what you can tell, it looks like when he kind of like lowered himself back to the ground, his arm kind of set on the rest of the forge, and his blood is now just dripping, like just rushing out of his hand. Stump into the fire, and it's causing it to sizzle and pop, and it kind of smells like burning meat, or burning like blood rather, in this chamber now. You get to Endovan. He's kind of like, you know, I'll be all right. I just need a little bit of time. To rest up. No worries, lad. You did good.
All right, if you say you're going to be okay, I'm afraid I may have eliminated our only lead on Mekon.
What we'll do is we'll take these folks back to the city, and then we'll make our way to the town of Squallow. It seems like there are priests there who have been searching out the cultists as well. Perhaps they will have some information.
Yeah. Can I take Borg's head just as well?
Mm-hmm.
Just because, fuck this guy.
Yeah. You cut Borg's head clean off. Do you take a look at any of the goings-on in this chamber?
Yeah, I'll see. Kind of try to get an idea of what he was doing. I'm assuming some blood magic, but
you see that there's
to what end?
Dagger that he was shaping on the anvil with like a curved blade. The dagger that he used to cut his own hand was just a very simple, regular dagger. But this dagger appears to be ceremonial and kind of ornate. It just, entering its tempering stage is probably the next step. And then there are several kind of alchemist sets in here. Looks like there's the blue powder about in here. You presume that there's some step in the process that might require, burning it down, or whatever, and they just use the forge for that. There's also a bag of coin. Looks like about 50 gold pieces. If you want to take that.
Sure.
Okay. And then Endovan and you will basically round up these individuals, total of 3, and kind of wander back to the city. Once you arrive there, You take them before the magistrate, and Endovan says he'll make sure that he stands as the um, offense, judgment-wise, to make sure that they are dealt with, which doesn't take too long. And he says once they're tried and done with, you and him will take to the city, or sorry, take to the town of Squallow. At that point, you would make your way that way.
While we were in the city or whatever, would there be a way for me to like get Borg's head like tarred or waxed just to preserve it?
Yeah, so that would cost you probably about 15. It's not typically a practice that's done on humans, and actually, a lot of people are kind of like confused. They say, "Are you trying to be like those Saryujin in making a war trophy?"
No, nothing like that. This is not a trophy, but it will be a warning to the Dark Ones and their ilk.
He says, "Fair enough. Fair enough. I'd heard tales that the Saryujin warriors, after defeating an opponent in a duel, would cut off a head and create what is known as a bundori. Um, Strange practice. A couple of folks had asked me about it before, but yeah, I'll go ahead and make this presentable."
Thank you. And also, the more you know.
Mm-hmm. You and him also managed to destroy the entirety of the mushrooms that they had as well, with oil and fire.
How about, was the statue destroyable,
yeah,
or was it
destroyable
too?
as well.
Yeah, we fucked that shit up.
Did like a whole bunch of a whole bunch of like holy prayers and rites over it to do the best you could to consecrate it. And when you got back to the city, you make your trophy. Do you leave that at the Atavian Church in Drayons, or you take it with you?
I'm taking it with me. I'm gonna my plan is hopefully to spook Meekson with it, or at least just show him the error of his ways and what will become of him if he doesn't
basically
play ball with us.
Anybody who's wanted to be a cultist, you better just quit and just be on your way. I get you. Okay. So you and Endovan will basically head to the town of Squallow, and you basically have like a spear fashioned for you that will have the head kind of ceremonially attached to the top of the spear. Um, and yeah, you guys head to Squallow. So you'll be starting in the Real Deal session with 350 additional experience. So you should be level 2.
Cool.
And you'll be entering from the south side of the town of Squallow. And that will be hopefully happening on, it might be the 25th of Sunday, Sunday on the 25th, or it might be not the Easter, but the one after that, the 8th. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. All that nonsense. I am Awar. And we're gonna go ahead and cut the stream.